this is legacy approved. I had a vision before them folks had a clue. Thank God I still had ability when we didn't have a roof. I couldn't even think of stability, let alone had the tools to be making change, and it ain't that ancient a memory. Strange that I can't forget where I came, but don't know if they'll do the same and remember me till I'm painting a bigger picture, making some bigger figures. I can't get stuck in that lane that's deep, it'll be delivered. Trust me. I've been working in mercy, Lord, trusting my process, I'm honest, looking for progress and pushing forward. Know I might fall while I'm running. I pick myself up sometimes and pay that pressure no mind. Cause ain't no way I can work this hard, and I know my time is coming.
Look, feet all on the pavement, but these dreams were so adjacent to this rut that I've been stuck in begging Jesus.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Perspective LP. I'm Dr. Nick Sturdivant. With me is Mr. Esteban Hernandez himself. I have Mr. Larry Burrell, and we are happy to be back with you. I know it's been a little bit since we've had an episode come out. We got hit with life. We had sickness come in. We had a tragedy happen with an employee that we needed to kind of take a step back and take care of. And now that we're back, it's time to get back after it, guys.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
It's been a little while.
It has been.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long.
Good to be back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
So I hope you all are doing well. Appreciate you riding with us. So today we have an interesting topic. It's a common topic, something that impacts all of our lives, whether we want it to or not, and that's social media and mental health. The two together can make some powerful things in a positive way, but they can also have some negative impact, especially in our field. We see it happen all the time. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit today. So, you know, from whether you're an adult or an adolescent, shoot, nowadays, even down to the toddler level. I mean, social media is crazy how it's infiltrated our lives. And we were talking about this. We were talking about this last week, where, you know, it's interesting. We live in a generation now, in a time now, where the majority, or if not the majority, it's getting close to the majority of people walking this earth have never lived without social media presence or even the internet. That's a big deal in what we're seeing in mental health, what we're seeing in behaviors. I mean, you can even see it impacts elections now. It impacts, you know, critical decisions of our everyday life. And now it's weighing on people's mentality and causing negative effects. Not all. There's a lot of positive that comes from social media, but there's also some negative effects that are happening. And we want to just kind of talk about that a little bit, because what I'm seeing, guys, and I don't know about you all, and you all see a lot of clients as well, is it's really ravaging families. The misuse of social media is ravaging families. You know, social media really is a tool. It can be a tool for good or bad, and we can talk a little bit about that. When you're thinking about social media and the impacts that you're seeing on just everyday clients, students, teachers, case managers, what are you seeing with social media, and why do you think we're seeing some of these impacts?
I think the most prevalent thing I see, especially when it comes to working with families, specifically families, is a lot of the kids that we see and we work with, they are so consumed by social media that they disregard everything else. Whether they just spend hours scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or X, Twitter, whatever it is now. They're so consumed by that they disregard doing their chores. They disregard doing their homework. They disregard doing the things that they should be doing. So then that causes a domino effect towards the parents, because the parents are like, why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you done this yet? And it escalates the family situation as a whole. So now you got mom that's mad at little Johnny because little Johnny didn't clean up his room, you know?
You always choose little Johnny.
I don't know why I go with little
Johnny, man. What did Johnny do to you, man? Johnny's always the problem child.
There's a story behind Johnny. I'm just kidding. There's no story. It's just the first. Honestly, it's probably because of rabbit hole. You know Johnny Bravo?
Uh-huh.
I think that's where I get it from, because I used to watch that show a lot.
That's random, but yeah, I get it though. Yeah.
So I think that's where I get little Johnny from. But no, so then the whole family is at that point escalated, right? Mom is mad because little Johnny didn't do whatever. So now you got a pissed off parent and a kid that doesn't care that mom is mad because he didn't do his chores. That family dynamic is something I see a lot of, especially working through family therapy. So it's always difficult trying to get the kid to disconnect, even for a little while, to kind of get some stuff done around the house, because he's not used to doing anything at the house. He's just used to being in front of a screen for hours on end.
So how do you think we got to that point? Because there's a deeper reason behind it, right? It's about attention. Like it's grabbing their attention. It's grabbing not just kids. This is adults too.
Absolutely.
So it's grabbing. Is it FOMO, fear of missing out, or they're looking at these different lifestyles that people are portraying? And then if that's the case, what is driving that portraying of that lifestyle?
Well, I think it's the shift in the direction that the world is going as a whole. I mean, the world has really put a big emphasis on technology. If you look at it from a school perspective now, of how when we was in school, and I was having a conversation about this, like we used to carry around thick textbooks about this thick, like we used to have
a backpack.
Yeah, the backpack, and then you
pounds.
they had to change lockers, but now everything is so fast. So like now everything is done on a computer, even in school. And so, so the access to technology, I'll say the world is making the access to technology more advanced now. And so like even going back to what you're saying as far as like the family stuff, like it shifted like the whole family dynamics and the whole family communication of things. There were times where, families could get together at a kitchen table and sit. There were no phones. I mean, back in the day, you didn't have no, smartphones. You used to have the phone that was on the wall.
Yep, with the cord.
So far before like it starts pulling you back.
And then you have the cord. Then it went to like the cordless phones. But now, so what's happening now is you'll see like a kid can't even come to the table without bringing a cell phone. So you have even toddlers or kids, like now they're eating at the table. Mom and dad may be at the table, but they have something that's propped up and then the phone is right there and they're watching a movie, which take away from actual communication, with your family household. And so even it's affected how people are communicating within their families now, which is definitely a concern now.
And I think that even starts when they're like toddler, because you have what they call iPad kids now. That you just they're wilding out at the dining room table. So you just give them an iPad so they can watch whatever. And that's starting as young as 2, 3, 4 years old. So then that's what they get used to growing up is every time that we're going to have a family meal together, I'm going to bring my iPad because this is where I see it, watch it all the time. And now as they get older, the iPad evolves into a smartphone and they still take it to the dining room table. And then they don't get to have those conversations like we used to growing up because we didn't have smartphones growing up, If you wanted to get connect to the internet, you had to do the whole make that
little disc that you put in.
Exactly, dial-up. And then you had to make sure nobody was gonna call because once you connect dial-up, your landline you can't use it anymore. So it's definitely. Times have drastically changed and it doesn't get any easier for the youth nowadays. And I think part of it is FOMO too, because they don't want to be the only ones that are missing out on what's in that week, because things change from a week to week basis at this point. So they want to stay in the know. They want to be cool. They want to be popular because they know the new TikTok trend that's happening. And if they don't, then they'll get made fun of at school, And
adults are the same way. So one thing I said, I have to catch myself, I kind of transitioned from it. I used to be that, man, technology is not good for kids. They need to learn how to communicate interpersonally, face to face. And that still holds true from the communication piece. But I think where people make a mistake is you can't deny that communication isn't happening. Like when you see these kids, and you can have a group of kids literally in a circle, in a group, and they're all looking at their phones and they're literally texting each other and communicating this way. Communication is happening, right? So that's something I've had to embrace, especially with 2 young kids, an 11 and a 7-year-old, or soon to be 7-year-old, is that's not going away. So I can either try to take the hard stance on saying no to technology. You're gonna learn how to communicate face to face, or I can embrace the technology because it's not going to wait. We can't beat it, right? While incorporating the other piece of it, because I think what I've seen is there's a weakness of being bred by the use of technology. Technology in and of itself isn't bad, right? But when you become reliant on it, you lose those interpersonal skills. And I tell people all the time, I was just talking to a university, a group of students, and they were, I was telling them, I said, look, I love the technology. I know you all are really good at it. You haven't lived a day on this earth without it, right? So it's a part of who you are. It's a part of the world that you know. That's beautiful. But if you want to have a competitive advantage, get that interpersonal skill piece. Make sure you're a master communicator at looking people in the eye and talking with them, in addition to the technology piece. That's how you're going to make it. That's how you're going to be productive in the world. But that's something that's being missed. It's so funny. The parents that talk negative about it, that bash technology, that bash the messengers, that bash social media, they're the same parents many times that give their child that tablet when they're in a restaurant to keep them quiet. How about you parent, right? How about you interactively parent with your child? You know, the child that you brought into the world.
Yeah.
We can't demonize the same thing that we're using to pacify.
Yeah.
We can't do it. And parents have to understand that.
No, I think, like, I have my nephew too, right? He's about to be 5 in January. And he's low-key like an iPad kid because he takes his little iPad everywhere. So there is like a slight cause for concern there. But like on the opposite end of things too, like he's watching alphabet videos, you know? So like he knows how to say the alphabet frontwards and backwards. Like he legit says the alphabet backwards. And I'm like, I'm 31 years old and I don't know how to say that. And he's 5 and he can say it backwards flawlessly. He can count all the way up to like God knows what number now. And it's all because like of the little videos that he watches. So while having that iPad as like a, hey, calm down now, I think there is a fine balance that can be effective. Like while he does have his iPad to learn how to say the alphabet backwards with limitations, like I don't think having an iPad at that young of an age is an issue.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I mean, my 11 and 6, soon to be 7-year-old, at their ages, are way smarter book-wise than I was.
Absolutely.
You know, common sense-wise, questionable. I'm like, I don't know about
Listen,
this one.
my nephew too. I'm like, you're a smart little homie, but like, come on now, like, why are we doing this right now?
So Larry, with having older children, you know, high school, middle school, late middle school age, what are you seeing when it comes to the social media piece, mental health, interactions, communication, all that?
Yeah, I would say, because one of the things I was thinking about, even from like high school and middle school kids, I'll say another thing that I'm, you're seeing is the access to really like group other kids in together in communication, whether that's sending text messages, doing videos, then ultimately messages get out faster. And then from a mental health standpoint, if there's a kid that's, maybe not be the most popular kid or, having some issues in school, they can easily become a target on social media, which in a natural sense, we see that, natural kids have become depressed. They don't want to go to school. They become truant, or naturally suicide rates, can increase from social media as well because of what's being portrayed about them on social media. And sometimes kids are so like slick and conniving now, like you don't even recognize what they're doing because they're just so quick and so slick and so easy to catch it on different things, with their phones and through social media, which is like crazy. So that's another thing I'm seeing, that it's affecting their mental health. It's consuming their time, but it's also impacting other kids because one hurtful message, you could damage the kids for the rest of their school year.
For sure.
And we've seen that happen even through, some of the families we've worked with, and some of the cases we've had that have dealt with like social media stuff as well too. Once the message is out there, you can't take it back.
Right.
So,
and the danger about social media, and if you use it the right way, the positive piece about social media, you can create whatever world view you want. Whatever vision you want people to have of you, you can create that in social media. And from the mental health standpoint, especially with youth and adults, adults get consumed, especially people who have idle time, who aren't doing what they want to do with their lives, or for whatever reason can't do. They'll sit there and they'll look at these lifestyles that are being posted. And behind those lifestyles, a lot of times is severe depression, discomfort. They're not happy, dissatisfied. And it's one of those things that you have to really tell people, like, look, don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the, oh man, they're living their best life. Yeah, on this picture that they are, right? And this picture that they manufactured, right, to show this lifestyle that they may or may not be living. But people fall into it. It's almost like it's our nature to look at it and almost covet, want to live the life that they're living. I'm like, man, live your life, because people can put whatever they want out on social media. Now, me personally, I believe, and I post quite a bit. My purpose as a posting is because I understand social media is a tool. I don't care about creating a lifestyle that people can admire. I hope they admire what they see, right, for a positive, because I'm big on, when I use social media, it's promoting family wellness, family togetherness. It's definitely promoting the father being in his rightful place, leading his family, protecting his family, working with his family, right, being there. I'm big on changing the narrative for what young black boys are being portrayed as. You know, I show my son, he's big in soccer. He's great in soccer.
I love seeing little soccer videos you post a little Nick.
I appreciate it, man. And it's not even about him getting likes and things like that. I'm portraying, hey, this is a kid who's playing a sport, straight A student, no behavior, you know, issues. Outside at home, I want to punch him in the face all the time at home. But in public, he's an angel. People are always talking about how well-mannered he is. That's what I want to portray, because I want to show that, hey, look, there's good representations of this demographic of people out there. And obviously I'm a follower of Christ, so that's a big piece to me also. When I put something out, it needs to positively represent him and what he's been in my life. Showing the togetherness of the nuclear family, that's important. Show yourselves enjoying a camping trip or whatever heck you want to do.
Typically what I did too. I used to post a lot of social media when I was in New York, partially because of like the ministry work that we did, right? Highlighting all those little Jesus moments throughout the weeks that happen. But now, like, I don't post as much, but now whenever I do post family stuff, you know, what always gets me is like the Facebook memories. I can look back at like stuff I posted throughout the years. Some of the stuff I posted 12, 13, 16 years ago is a little cringe, and I'm like, who was I? Like, what was wrong with me in high school? But a lot of the other stuff I see where like my family used to be, or like I've seen pictures of my nephew growing up, or like even like the ministry work that I did in New York. And it's a good little reminder, this is where I used to be and this is where I'm at now. While social media does have like its pitfalls and downfalls, like there's a lot of good that can come out of it, you know, too.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think family that's not close to us, social media has a way of keeping us connected.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there are times where, you know, I think about, you know, where like we would have to travel, like, to go see family, or like you have to call them by phone. But now with the access of video, access of FaceTime,
that was a lifesaver.
Google, I forgot the Google thing, but
The Google Meet.
Google Meet, yeah. Google Meet, Zoom.
Catching up to you.
Yeah. Google Meet, but all those things allow us to still be able to see our families face to face. And like even like my son, like he's big into like photography and doing a lot of different stuff on social media. And it's about really capturing the moments, which is big for families, because I mean, sometimes we miss very important moments, but if you can kind of capture those moments, those important things that, you know, that's happening within our families, it can always serve as a lasting memory for our family. So,
and I think that's like partially why I brought up the last fact too. Like my family's in California, you know, so like every little moment that I get to go over there, like of course I'm gonna take it. But it's capturing those moments because like I'm not there every day. People swear I'm there every month, but that's not the reality of it. I'm there like every few months for like those special occasions. It's good to have those moments like encapsulated. And honestly, at this point, like social media is the best way to encapsulate some of those moments. And then I have friends up in New York that are doing ministry work that I don't get to see or be a part of that stuff anymore. But seeing how like God is using them and excelling them in their positions, that's done through social media too. If I didn't have social media, I feel like I would be cut out from like the people that matter to me. I have people that matter to me in New York. I have people that matter to me in California. So without that social media aspect, it kind of sounds kind of creepy, but like keep tabs on them. Like I wouldn't know what's happening with a lot of them. So
right. The world is definitely smaller with social media. In a positive way. I think about it from people who serve in the military when they're deployed. You know, it's tough. And I remember my brother was deployed in one of the Iraq wars. And, you know, I remember waiting by the phone, you know, hoping that you would catch the phone. Like, not missing a phone call was critical at that time. You know, social media wasn't big. We weren't doing Zoom and Skypes and all that. And so I look at people who are deployed now, that's a huge, huge benefit. From a mental health standpoint, especially, you know, and just being able to keep tabs, seeing what's going on, multitasking. You have people who are literally in war zones, taking care of mortgages and different things going on at home, you know, through their significant others. So that's a big help. To your point too, I mean, I do look at, you know, social media allows you to look at the then up until now, and I'm big on, men especially don't really know who they are. They don't come into who they are until their 30s. They hit 30. That's when it starts to come together and make sense. I mean, heck, I would say even then.
I made it.
You made it, man. Welcome to the club. But, and I say that, and I look back at social media, I'm like, man, what a cornball I was. Just, you can see where I was.
Definitely.
It's just like
high school me to current me, like night and day, man. It's hilarious.
Trying to figure out who we are and figure out what sticks, what doesn't. And it's just so funny. You look back like, dude, what were you doing?
Yeah.
What were we thinking?
Absolutely.
But social media has allowed for many relationships to be formed. But I would argue to say in some cases, in many cases, improperly cultivated, right? So remember, we're looking at social media and we're always comparing different people and different scenarios to what's being posted. It's a natural thing that happens. It takes a level of maturity to be able to see through it and to be able to say, okay, wait, pause. This looks nice, but that's not the full story. This is a small snapshot. So you take that same situation that people struggle with and then you apply it to relationships. People are looking, and nobody's going to put a busted picture of themselves on social media, right? You're going to get the best of what they have to offer. Problem is that best of what they have to offer is not sustainable consistently over time. And so you have people building these relationships on social media that are really, the example that comes to mind is they're building this relationship on sand, not a strong foundation. How do we combat that? Because that directly impacts mental health. I mean, you think about the kids we work with. They're daggone near killing themselves now over these relationships that were built on false pretenses and sand.
Yeah, I think the difficult part with that too, like a lot of people go into social media to seek for that validation, to make themselves feel like, oh, like what I'm feeling right now, like I'm not the only one that's feeling this. Now, granted, those feelings aren't the healthiest either, Like if you have a kid that's in a relationship that things aren't working out, so they're feeling some type of ways, they'll start looking at social media and they'll be like, oh, this person is in a relationship too, and they're feeling exactly what I'm feeling. So what I'm feeling must be right. I'm validating my own feelings, even though they're completely like, you need to chill. It's not that bad, I promise you, But they're going to social media and like getting those negative feelings validated, which then causes a downward spiral that can lead to more serious depression or even suicidal ideation. The more like obvious one would be like the relationship conflicts, right? Because ideally you want to be able to talk things out in a relationship, but once you get those negative feelings validated, instead of being like conversational with your significant other or whatever, you become more confrontational. At that point, it's like, this is not a healthy relationship.
Well, I like what you said. You said a special word, conflict. People don't like to deal with conflict as it is, right? Social media, one thing social media has done a great job at is allowing people to run from conflict and become keyboard warriors, become passive-aggressive warriors.
That's the most annoying thing. Whenever I see people on Facebook that are like bashing each other for like the pettiest things, you're a grown person.
Right.
Like, what are we doing here? Get off. Go do your job. Go do something else. Like, you're fine.
Those conflict moments are critical. You can't have growth without conflict. Whether it's working out, you have to have conflict between that weight and your muscle to get that muscle to grow, to tear down those fibers, to grow, to get the nutrients, to build yourself back up stronger. Conflict, right? And the problem I see is even with adults, you see a lot of the subliminal shade messages happening. When the grown adults, who have been hurt or feel a certain type of way, instead of going and having those conversations, now they're sending little messages and putting little things and tweets or whatever out. And it's just like, this is silly, first of all.
Absolutely.
But it's, when you approach it from a mature standpoint, you can see that these people are actually hurt. They're actually hurt and they're trying to attack, but they're not man or woman enough to actually have those conversations of conflict. And those conversations don't have to lead to confrontations. It's, a negative confrontation doesn't have to lead to a fight or even an argument. You have to work through the conflict. You might walk out having a better understanding. You might walk out saying, hey, you know what? We're just not cut from the same cloth. It's probably better that we have space. Both are okay if we actually have those conversations. And so, Larry, you're the master of navigating conflict, I would say. I would say you're one of the people, if somebody mad at Larry, there's something wrong with you. But, I mean, what do you see? Like, what are your thoughts on that in general?
Well, I think even from a social media standpoint, I think, conflict is going to grab the most attention. So
that's real.
So people in conflict, they're looking for likes. They're looking for, you know, the most comments and followers. And so to me, sometimes it's easier to portray conflict or disagreements than it is to portray success or something else. I mean, I can think about how many times on social media that like, oh, you got an issue going on, parents or something, you know, going at it or something involving like a kid or whatnot. Like it's automatically going to get attention from all the followers.
Because everybody wants to know what the tea
Everybody
is.
want to know what's going on.
So they're going to click the little comment and be like, all right, what's happening?
But then the success or the positive stuff, it doesn't get as much attention. And so I think what we need to do, it needs to be a shift between shifting from focusing so much on conflict that we focus more on the success that people have in life.
Absolutely.
That's what more messages like that need to be portrayed, because everything is not negative.